You are weeks away, 2 weeks to be exact, from your final assignment A3 and from finishing the course. It's a whopping 50%, but hopefully by now you'll be experts and I can already see your skills really growing in how to use your course theory and apply it to your conflict. So this week is the perfect time to start floating ideas. So go through, have a look at assignment 3, listen to the collaborate session if you weren't able to attend, choose a question that interests you. If it applies to one of the 5 cases, then choose the case that interests you. You're asked to do something different from assignment number 1 in this particular situation. And then just start working through. And just to give you a heads up, there aren't many mysteries here. Like, of course, we would love to hear you using as much of the course theory and content as you can, including from weeks 1, weeks 2. However, what we're really focusing on, the new learning, is weeks 6 on. So in week 6, we looked at different methods of conflict prevention and conflict resolution. So think about what kind of methods are you talking about and try to incorporate some of that material and the scholars who discuss it and try to add a bit of critique. Week 7, we looked at intervention, UN intervention, but it could be other forms of intervention. So almost any of these questions will probably involve some kind of reference to intervention, but certainly if you're doing the A3 questions which really focus on this specifically, evaluating intervention, then week 7 is definitely something you want to have a look at. Week 8 is looking at the longer term, ideas such as peace building, conflict transformation, what the difference is between short-term immediate solutions and longer-term solutions. And again, the modules there point to certain words and terms and scholars and readings around those. So think in terms of what applies to you. So when you have a look at the essay questions, these terms that are right there in the modules are used a lot. So when you read the question and think about how you're going to approach it, think about what weeks of the course learning you're really going to dig into and start there. Start with the essential readings and some things from the recommended reading list as well, depending on the question and the approach. Anyway, moving on, week 9, we looked at, justice and reconciliation. So certainly things like peace commissions, truth commissions, international war justice tribunals. So which ones are used when? Is there a better? What are the pluses and the minuses? So there's a question there on justice and reconciliation as well. And then week 10, we looked more at the theory, different ways to critique conflict resolution as an approach. So if you're doing the theoretical question that looks at conflict resolution and how it changed and evolved, you may look at how it ties in with different seasons, I suppose you could say, of international relations, the realist time versus when more critical approaches came through. Or you might just like to sound very sophisticated, and it doesn't matter what question you're doing, if you're going to challenge a scholar or an argument, or bring in your own argument, you might say, well, according to a realist critique of conflict resolution, it could be argued that this intervention failed because X, and X countries or actors, had their own self-interest and agendas involved, and it wasn't really for the good of, Rwanda or whoever it is that you might want to be talking about. So these are ways that you can use the critique. And as I said, this week, I'm just trying to encourage you to float different ideas and to start to discuss your A3 topic. So you can also email me a plan. You can jump on the A3 Q&A thread and float your ideas as well. So I encourage you just to start thinking. I always say plan first, plan and read. In fact, I'm likely to do some essential readings first before I plan, because reading gives me the understanding and gives me an idea of where I want to go. From there, I would normally jot down some dot points, paragraph 1, paragraph 2, paragraph 3, and take it from there. So later this week or next week, I'll try and put out a video of something called Peel, how to approach paragraphs in essays. Some of you might even know it. You might even know it from school days. My son uses it in classes, and it's just getting back to those basics and asking yourself, does my essay flow? Does it make sense? The other thing I want to point out this week, if you weren't in the collaborate and haven't listened to the session, is the criteria is packaged a little bit differently this time, a little bit less specifically, but essentially it has the same elements you would normally be used to. But it emphasizes having an argument, how you actually structure your ideas, but also there's still the incorporation of theory, evaluating strengths and weaknesses, the same old thing. But, have a look at the criteria. I always say have a look at the criteria anyway. It's not like you no longer have to reference or anything like that. So I think it's still familiar, but always have a look and have it front and center of your mind. And particularly when it comes to structuring ideas and making an argument, writing down that dot point plan on an A4 page, 3 key points, perhaps break them into sub-points, and think about how they link back to the main question. That's really important. It always shows when people plan well. Thanks, everybody. Make sure you keep running any questions by me or posting them here on the discussion thread.